The second device the world uses to trap Christians is the lust of the eyes. Have you ever heard the phrase, feast your eyes on this? You want to hear a scary, creepy concept? Your eyes have an appetite, like your stomach has an appetite. Oh, that's so gross. I can picture eyeballs chewing. You're welcome. Now you're picturing it, and you're just as angry as me. They do. Your eyes have an appetite. Feast your eyes on this is a saying that goes straight to the fact that we spend billions in the world, not just our country, in the world, on television and movies so that we can sit and watch stories. Our magazines spend billions in airbrushing and Photoshop to show us all what would look perfect and how much better we could be and happier we could be, so we can feast our eyes. Our eyes feast on things all day long. Feast on food, feast on what other people look like, feast on things we want, people we want. Have you ever thought about your eyes needing an appetite? Have you ever thought about what it would be like to not see anything but 4 white walls for a month or 2 months or 3 months, to have nothing to look at? People actually go crazy in that situation, don't they? So your eyes have an appetite. So when John says the lust of the eyes, we're not just speaking here of, again, a sensual lust of looking upon someone lustfully. That's not what it's saying. This is actually, whereas the lust of the flesh was the more base desires, that's why drunkenness, sensuality is anger. The lust of the eyes is actually the more refined, entrappings of the world. In John's time, just much like we have TV, the Romans lived and the Greeks lived for entertainment. Entertain me. I'm bored. Achan, in Joshua 7, a soldier brought defeat to Joshua, a man of God, his entire army. Why? It tells us in Joshua 7:21, when I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonish garment, this is the NASB, and 200 shekels of silver, then I coveted them and I took them. You see, this goes to something much higher. This goes to something that says, look what is good, look what will be good for me. I'll get praise from other people. I'll become important in the eyes of other people. I can buy things that will make me feel more important. And this brings us to us today. How many things do you own that you bought to impress somebody you don't care about? How far did you extend yourself on a vehicle so it would impress somebody that you don't even know anymore, but you still make the payments? Right? Clothes that we buy, hobbies that we get into. It becomes the lust of the eyes. Just like Achan, the lust of his eyes led him to sin and Joshua's army into a defeat. The eyes are a gateway to the mind. Therefore, the lust of the eyes can include intellectual pursuits, not just things that gratify your immediate need, but things, intellectual pursuits into theology, into education, into science. None of those things are evil. Studying any of those things are not evil. It's when they become your primary goal and source. This is where I find my personality, my identity. This is what I spend all my time doing. In fact, this is why God warns against the counsel of the ungodly. Do we ignore secular learning and secular education? No. There's plenty to be learned. But if I'm counseling a couple and I realize it's above my pay grade, I send them to a Christian counselor. Why? Because a marriage counselor, no matter how great they may be and how many degrees they may have, they are not going to see a relationship between a man and a woman in marriage the same way that God has laid it out. So they can have all the degrees in the world, but if they listen to the counsel of the ungodly when it comes to an institution that God put into the world, well, then they better know what God says about it. Remember, marriage is not something man thought up. Just think about what marriage is, right? That is something God gave us. And so to get counsel on your marriage outside of somebody who is following that foundation, it can be foolishness. Not always, but a lot of the time.